Welcome to episode number 91 of the On Social Media Show, the podcast for marketing, advertising, public relations, and communications professionals. We are recording live on Google Hangouts on air on April 11, 2015. This week's stories, we got a good lineup today. This week's stories and the worst stories: Facebook divorces, Rand Paul's rocky rollout, BuzzFeed deletes their history, and the best stories, the cool stories, the good stories. We've got Google testing a web conference killer, LinkedIn loves Linda, Uber drives drunks, and some double robots you'll want to know about. We got some shiny new stuff we're going to talk about. We're going to wrap it up with some numbers about mobile marketing that you need to know now. My name is David Erickson. You can find me at @DErickson on Twitter. I'm the VP of Online Marketing at Kowalski & Courage, public relations firm in Minneapolis, Minnesota. BL Achman, my co-host, is in New York. She can be found on Twitter at What's Next. She is the CEO of Maximum-Plus.com and writes for Ad Age. You can find us online at BeyondSocialMediaShow.com for the show. Our Twitter handle is BS Media Show. Subscribe to our weekly newsletter so you don't miss a podcast. That's at BeyondSocialMediaShow.com/newsletter. You get exclusive content, so go ahead and sign up right now. We start off with the worst. BL, you always have the honors. What was the worst story of the week?
Well, right now, Facebook can serve your divorce papers. This story came from Jezebel, and the reporter is Mark Schraber, and he reported that a judge in New York issued a landmark ruling that says divorce papers can be served through Facebook messages. And as long as the papers are sent every week for 3 weeks, it's all legal and it's binding. So what comes next? Facebook delivers your baby, chooses who you'll marry. You know, I mean, that's really over the top, if you ask me.
Wow. Well, it's fascinating. I mean, I've told lawyers I know that they should be getting into cyber law because it's an entirely new, untested field of law, and I guess this shows.
Well, you're absolutely right. And I've been working with attorneys who are doing mediation using Google Hangouts, and a lot of attorneys are doing private paid consulting using Hangouts. And there's a lot going on, and the legal field is quick to pick up on, well, not some of them, are quick to pick up on this new technology, which really has a lot to offer. But yeah, cyber law and intellectual property law, oh boy.
Yeah. So I've got an interesting one. The political season is heating up. We've got rumors that Hillary Clinton is going to announce for her candidacy this week, and Rand Paul already has. And he has had a bit of a rocky rollout. This is from a Mashable story by Jason Abruzzi. I hope I pronounced that correctly. It's about an interview that Paul Lewis, the reporter for The Guardian, had with candidate Rand Paul via Periscope, the live video streaming app that's crushed Meerkat apparently. So he did a live streaming interview with Rand Paul, and Rand Paul sort of stomped off in mid-interview after a question about evangelical Christians opposing law enforcement reform, which is a position that he favors. So the question was, how do you get through the primary with that position? And Rand Paul basically said, I disagree with the premise of the question. And as the reporter was trying to formulate a follow-up, he walked off and just ended the interview. Later on,
go ahead.
Later on, shortly thereafter, the lights went out, and it appeared as if they had turned out the lights on the reporter, both metaphorically and physically, but actually it was CNN that did it, who was in the room, and they so they clarified that. But he's had 2 previous interviews that were contentious with women reporters, and where he didn't like the question, and he sort of just got all bristly and
I saw one of those. I saw one on the Today Show, and he was absolutely hideous. He talked over the reporter. He spoke to her like she was a child. You are not using good journalistic technique. How dare you editorialize instead of asking me the question? And just went on and refused to answer any of the questions. He was horrid.
Well, I mean, it's just not good communications tactics to do that, because your message isn't getting out. The message is you're getting in arguments with reporters.
Well, and you know, the viewers are watching you lose it before you're even a candidate. Not good. So this week, Clorox got itself in a little bit of hot water, as it were. They made a joke on Twitter, and the joke went bad, basically. They were talking about the new diverse emojis. There are emojis now on the Apple keyboard that represent different skin colors. So they said new emojis are great, but where's the bleach? And so some observers took that tweet, because people are so freaking touchy online, as saying that Clorox wanted to whiten the new emojis. So Clorox apologized, and they said, wish we could bleach out that last tweet. You know, we didn't mean any harm. So my favorite response to that was, I can DM my resume if y'all need a new social media manager.
I'm sure they got a lot of those.
And then another one was, Clorox, you didn't mean to offend, but you sure as hell succeeded.
Yeah, you got to think through.
You really do. You really do. So I just want to tell you guys, housekeeping, comment tracker is on and might even be working. So please feel free to leave your comments either on the event page on Google Plus or on Twitter using the hashtag BS Media Show.
Awesome. Any other negative?
Well, yeah, I do have one more, and it's I have it in both negative and positive, actually, because what happened this week was that Dove, who I do really admire their marketing, Dove launched a campaign, and that the negative part of it that I'm going to tell you about now is a story that I got via my friend Henry Copeland from J.K. Trotter, and he was writing on Gawker, and basically what happened was that Dove did a new campaign which is called Choose Beautiful, and in that campaign they asked women all over the world to come for a day of beauty to a location, and when they arrived there were two doors they could choose to walk through, one or the other. One said beautiful and the other said average. And as it turned out, 87% of the women in all of the cities of the world walked through the door called average. And so the point that they were trying to make was, actually you're beautiful, and they had mindfulness training, and they had, you know, they were just trying to make a positive thing. And they have done a lot of this before, and I have admired the things that they have done to point out to women that their self-images are not the reality. And so BuzzFeed then published an article that was critical of Choose Beautiful, but then they took it down, and that's because Dove's an advertiser, and but of course what goes online stays online. So there was an update later, and they responded by saying that the article wasn't properly sourced.
With the advertising department.
Right, exactly. They didn't go to the advertising department and get the proper source. That's exactly what happened.
And you ever heard of archive.org? I mean, seriously.
Well, that's just it, you know, Wayback Machine. I mean, what goes online stays online, and that's all there is to it. Ray Hill says he loves that the pun Clorox got in hot water. So that's my bad news. Do you have any more?
No, I don't. But I'll comment on the latest campaign, though. That the best part of that video for me was the woman with her daughter, and her daughter was making beeline to the average door, and she just grabbed her and said, "No, you don't. No, you don't. You're going into the beautiful door."
Well, you know, I asked my friends this morning. I have breakfast with my friends on Saturday morning, and I asked my friends, and only me and one other said I'd go right in beautiful. Everybody else said no, average. I said, why? And one said because I wouldn't want people to think I was bragging, and the other said because I just don't think that, you know, I look that good. And I said, but you're beautiful. And she said, oh, well, thanks, but you think that because you're my friend.
You could see some of the calculations on the people's faces as they're considering whether they're going to the average or the beautiful door, and looking at their friends who are with them, and you
to see where they were going.
You're gonna think I'm stuck up or something if I go through the beautiful door. So
yeah, well, if I had a daughter, I'd want her to go straight through the beautiful door without thinking twice about it too. So, so that brings us to better news. Google is testing something that they call GMeet for business, and it's for conference calls and meetings in Google+. So, dear Google+ naysayers, the Google+ is dead, dying, or crippled crowd. No, actually, Google+ is morphing into something even better, and this is such a category killer for the GoToMeetings and so on of the world, and it's going to be on the Hangout platform, and you'll be able to schedule meetings and invite people to join the conference, which they can access easily. It's aimed at their enterprise customers, but these things do always start there, and you know, it's not seen usually. Google Hangouts are not usually seen as an enterprise platform, but GMeet will be targeted to them, and they will have enough features that businesses will use it. It's going to be great.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, and it looks. I mean, it's basically a rebranding of Hangouts for the enterprise. So I've got a related story.
Kiss your ass goodbye, GoToMeeting, and so on. I mean, you're done.
Yeah, I got a related video conferencing type story but it involves robots. So you can't just
I love robots, Dave. Tell me about robots.
Telepresence robot. So this is from a story at The Verge by James Vincent, and Vincent is a British guy who works in England. So he tested this telepresence robot made by Double Robotics. And he, as I said, he works from England, but most of the staff of The Verge are in the United States, and he's never met them. So they said, well, it's time that we meet, and use this telepresence robot to do so. So he visited, quote unquote, the offices in San Francisco using this robot, and it is basically a Skype-enabled iPad mounted to a stick that's affixed to basically a Segway. And so
it's like a selfie stick.
It's a combination of it's a stick that has an iPad mounted on it, and it's motored by a Segway, and you control it with an app. And so he's talking. You see him going through the halls of the San Francisco Verge offices on a Segway with with an iPad, and it's his face talking, and so it's fascinating. It's kind of I guess the dexterity is that of a toddler, he says. The thing costs $2,500. It's the iPad is not included. It's kind of fascinating, but kind of limited too. I think GMeets will probably have more success than this, but
you know which one I really liked? Did you ever see the one where you had to pedal a bicycle on the meeting, and the pedaling? Everybody was on this bike and you went around. If anybody stopped pedaling, the whole thing would stop, and that's how they had a meeting. There were like tools for meetings. It was one of the funniest things ever. But you know, I am such a fan of robots. I mean, I'd rather have a robot than have a iWatch.
Yeah.
I do not need an iWatch. Oh, thank you so much, Scott. Scott said, BL, you could go through the beautiful and smart door. Ah, thanks. That's sweet. So, this week I fell in love with Buick, and you know, Buick is like got this image that it's got to get over being your grandfather's car, and no matter what they say about that's not your grandfather's Buick, yeah, it is, but. But they have something just so adorable. They have a contest going on where you can make your dog a star, and you can go to the site and see it. It's just you know, just for the adorable pictures and the adorable videos. And I'm not 100% sure what this has to do with selling Buicks, to be quite honest with you, but it's cute and it's got dogs, so I like it.
Well, they're targeting millennials, who that's the pet of choice of millennials is dogs. So
dogs that drive.
and bark and have subtitles to them.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I love what Andrew Hatchett said about the beautiful door. He said it would depend on who, if anyone, was watching me as I go through the door. Wasn't for guys, sorry. Maybe next time. Got one for us, Dave?
I do. So this is a beautiful story. LinkedIn acquires lynda.com. I am a big fan of both. I've said for years that LinkedIn is a B2B killer app. And Linda is fantastic. I've watched. They do great professional development videos, training videos. I've watched several of their series of courses, basically video courses. So this is from the Next Web, a story by Amanda Connolly, and she reports on the acquisition. $1.5 billion LinkedIn is going to pay for lynda.com. There's no specifics yet about how they're going to integrate the two companies. But you think about it, LinkedIn gets all this educational talent, people who know how to put together educational content. They get a bunch of professional development content, right? So users will spend more time in LinkedIn because they'll be there for training purposes as well as career development. They'll get signals to target to ads of people, watching this type of content. So that's a signal you can use in ad targeting, and a new revenue stream. Assuming that they have Lynda, that they're not going to make the Lynda content free, they've got a new revenue stream. So I just think it's a big win for both.
I think it's quite remarkable, the prices of things lately. Everything's $1 billion or more. I don't know where all that money.
Three times the amount they have paid for all acquisitions combined.
Wow. Well, I'm sure they must have big plans for it, or, it wouldn't make any sense at all. Uber, who's had quite a bit of negative press, to say the very least, has done something that I think is pretty spectacular. They've set up curbside breathalyzers, and you go there, you blow into the breathalyzer, and if you're over the limit, then they say, you drink, we drive. They've done this in Toronto, and they give you a free ride home if you're over the limit. This was a story in Adweek by Tim Nudd, and it was dreamed up by the agency Rethink, and it was built by a design and fabrication studio called Stack Lab, and it functions just like a typical breathalyzer, but the people in the video that demonstrates it, every single one of them got a free ride home because they were all snookered.
That's a clever idea.
It's a brilliant idea. There's such a need for that. Seriously.
Yeah. So I got a real quick one. This is in Best, but it could be in Shiny New Stuff. Retweeting with comments will get a lot easier. ClickZ, this is a story from ClickZ by the reporters Carly Page. Twitter's rolling out a new feature. Basically, you can retweet now, where it just automatically retweets what you want to retweet, but now you can choose quote retweet, which includes a comment box. So you have 116 extra characters of space to comment on the stuff that you're retweeting. Very useful.
Yeah, I found that the other day, and it makes it so much easier to have a conversation with somebody, and it gives you, as you said, all those extra characters to have a comment. And what they have on mobile, by the way, has changed this week too. They took away the Discover tab, and another tab, I forget what the other one is, they took away. So they're changing the interface. So some of the things that you would find in Discover, you now have to go to search to look for. But I think so far the changes I've seen lately in Twitter are very much for the better. Yeah. Ray Hill says, "You brown-nosed Scott Scowcroft." Alex Young says he hopes people don't take advantage of Uber. Well, I hope they do, actually, because I'd rather see them take advantage of Uber than drive drunk. So I think that brings us to Shiny New Stuff, right?
It does indeed. What do you got?
Well, YouTube is enhancing, I couldn't find the word, enhancing the interactive cards that they introduced a couple of weeks ago for video. So these are for TrueView video, and these are for advertisers on in-stream ads. The story came from Greg Jarboe in RealSEO.com, and these cards just give a greater ability to add a new layer of interactivity. To explain them, it seems to me that they're a combination of cards and the Showcase app. And the cool thing about them is that, unlike the Showcase app and the Q&A app, which are clunky because they pop out of your event page into another window and people get confused, this stays within the video and people can interact with the links while the video is going on. And it's available on desktop and mobile devices. And the cards work in live streams, so that's why I think that they can be combined with the Showcase app at some point in the near future.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, it's also a way to get more attention from people during that 5-second preview before you skip the ad, right?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yes.
Good
and
for
they're
us.
also testing a paid service where you will be able to skip the ads altogether, so this becomes that much more important.
Right, right. So I've got two new discovery tools that are pretty much the same type of tool. This comes from a Wired article by Kyle Van Hemert. I think that's how I pronounce it. Anyway, so both with Belongio, Belong.io, and latest.is. So those are the two sites, and they're both basically really good lists of links. And it starts with human-curated group of Twitter users, and then they apply algorithms to call those links the links that people are discussing. So it pretty much brings to the fore the best types of links. The content of the links is sort of, you might imagine, Twitter focused, so it's types of links we'd like, technology types of stuff. But I found some really awesome stuff in that we'll include in the newsletter through these, and then they're my new go-to tools for finding new content, I think.
I looked at them when you put the links in there, and they're both really interesting, but I would like to be able to pick the categories of the links rather than have somebody pick them for me. So I'm not sure that I love them, but
I like them for serendipity. I try and get as much serendipity in my life because I've got so much content filtered and categorized. So I like them for the exact opposite reason that you'd want the categories.
So one question here, Andrew wants to know who sanitizes the Uber vaporizer. Well, how it works is that each person gets a straw. You're not all using the same hose. So each time the straw is thrown away. Is it sanitary enough? Who knows?
But when you got all that alcohol in your system, it probably
it sanitizes it for you, right? That's great. So I believe that we've been zipping through here, and we have gotten to the daily numbers.
All right. So you need to pay attention to mobile now. This is mobile share of ad spending and clicks. So mobile paid search ad spending in Q2 2013 stood at 24%. Q4 by Q4 2014 it rose to 30%. Clicks in Q2 stood at 28%, and in Q4 rose to 39%. This is the reason that Google is saying by April 21st you need to have your websites mobile friendly, or they're not going to be found in mobile search anymore.
Mobilegeddon.
You need to, if you have ignored mobile up till this point, you need to start paying attention. That's it. That's what I got for the daily numbers.
There also is a link on the event page today that is the link to Google's page where you can put in the URL of your site and test it to see not only whether it's mobile friendly, but for their suggestions on what you need to change, which in my case is everything. But you know, I put some client sites in there and they're not ready either. So I think that this is a boom time from heaven for web developers. That's what if you do that, you're in great shape right now. So that brings us to the end of episode 91 of the Beyond Social Media Show. Links to all of today's stories will be on our blog beyondsocialmediashow.com/91. And we hope you will leave us a review of the show at beyondsocialmediashow.com/love. You can find David Erickson at D. Erickson on Twitter, at estrategyblog.com, creativepr.com/blog, and you can find me at What's Next and What's Next blog at maximum-plus.com, and the show BeyondSocialMediaShow.com. We are on Twitter at BS Media Show. We are on Facebook at Beyond Social Media Show. Please come like us. We're new there. And we have a newsletter that I think you will find pretty much different from most of the other newsletters you get and fun to read. And it has not only the content that we cover in the show, but also stuff that we didn't get a chance to cover and some moments of joy and awesome things that we wanted to share with you. And I hope you'll take a look. And we will be back next week, same time, same station. And we thank you all for watching today.
Thanks for watching.